Hello guys, Jack here, today bringing you my first impressions of the new Battlefield 4 DLC, Naval Strike. So I attended an event at EA yesterday with other YouTubers and members of the press. We sat down, played on PC and recorded everything. I also managed to score an interview with Craig McLeod, who works at DICE, and he's one of the lead producers on the project. Got some very interesting answers there, and that interview should be uploaded later today along with a load of raw footage from the 4 new maps. What's the big deal with Naval Strike then? Why should you be interested as a Battlefield fan? Well, the number one reason I was personally excited for Naval Strike was because of the new Carrier Assault mode that they announced. And this is a reimagination of the Titan mode from Battlefield 2142, a game that myself and friends sunk a lot of hours into back when that was released. The concept of this game mode is pretty simple. It's a big map with capture points just like Conquest, but when you capture a point, instead of tickets bleeding down, missiles are fired from that location towards the enemy's aircraft carrier. If enough missiles hit the target, the ship opens up and you can get inside there. Once inside, it sort of turns into a game of Rush. There's 2 MCOMs that can be armed and disarmed. Once you get the first one, some more doors open up and you can go deeper into the ship. If you blow the second one up, the round ends. And you get this nice dynamic of capturing flags or conquest points mixed with trying to defend and attack your carrier. So definitely some interesting gameplay to be had there. How does it play out then? Is it actually fun? Well, my overall impressions were positive, although keep in mind that we were only playing with 10 versus 10 here, so it was a bit quiet at times. These new maps are designed to work best for 32 players, but unfortunately some people didn't turn up to the event. However, even with 20 players on the server, which is what we were playing with, there was still a lot of action to be had. It plays out like a normal Conquest game with a nice mix of boats, jets, helis, infantry, and then of course once you get inside an enemy aircraft carrier or you're defending your own, it's all about infantry combat. Although you can actually fly a helicopter into the ship if you're skilled enough. You can even get a hovercraft in there if you want to. Yeah, it's pretty fun. For the most part, I certainly enjoyed it, and the people that I was with were definitely enjoying it as well. We were having a lot of fun, messing around, attacking objectives. But, and this is a big but because it's important, with 64 players, I can see that when you get to the bit inside of the aircraft carrier, that's just going to become an absolute clusterfuck because it's really tight in there and there's basically no flanking routes. Chuck Commander on top with UAV scans. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be grenade spam central. So if you do pick up Naval Strike, I'd definitely advise sticking to 32 player servers, especially when you play Carrier Assault. Conquest, I think the maps work great for 64 players, but Carrier Assault, just that end bit, it is sort of worrying me a little bit. Also, massive disappointment, actually made me upset, I started crying, when I found out that during Carrier Assault, after the second MCOM explodes and you win the round, the game just ends. You don't get to escape the ship, which really sucks in my opinion. Obviously in Battlefield 2142 in Titan mode, once you destroyed the ship's core, you had like 20 or 30 seconds to escape. And that was amazing. That was really exciting, heart pounding, everything exploding around you. You've got to deal with the last remaining defenders and attackers who are also trying to escape. It was just really cool to be able to say that you went around capping flags, you got on the ship, you got in there, you destroyed the core, you did the damage, and then you managed to escape with your life. Like you get out there alive just in time before the ship explodes. But in Naval Strike, the round just ends and you get to see the ship exploding with some text on the screen, and that's just not fun in my opinion. Like, what happens? Do we all just die in there? I don't know. It just seems like a big missed opportunity to me. And when I asked Craig about this in my interview, he told me that it's much more of a technical issue related to performance and server load, but it just would have been so nice to have that in there, and maybe they can find a workaround for it and add it in the future. I don't think they will, but perhaps it just didn't work in BF4. I don't know. Yeah, pretty gutted you can't escape after you win the round. Anyway, so the new maps themselves are Operation Mortar, Wavebreaker, Nancha Strike and the Lost Islands. And I think from an artistic point of view, they're stunning, really. They look really nice. I think these are some of the best looking maps that Battlefield 4 has to offer. And one thing that really stood out to me that I think makes a massive difference, which you overlook a lot of the times, was just the amount of new models, textures and assets that have been created specifically for these maps. With China Rising and Second Assault, we had loads of familiar textures and objects, props that you'd seen in the base game, some that you'd seen in BF3. But so much of this stuff in these maps is brand new. and that's really quite refreshing really, so good job on that. There's certainly some standout and iconic areas in the new maps too, like the submarine pen, where you can drop the submarine, the old fort at the top of the hill where you can fire the cannons, the crashed airplane on Lost Islands which can be exploded and blown into more parts. There's suitcases and surfboards scattered around everywhere, there's secret tunnels, sea bases. It's all very cool and James Bond-esque, I guess. The maps played out great in Conquest 2, like I said before. You know, all DICE had to do here really was build 4 great Conquest maps and then add 2 carriers with rush MCOMs in them, and you got carrier assault. But seriously, I had a blast playing on these new maps. I think they're way more fun, varied and better designed than especially the China Rising maps. You know, that expansion pack just underwhelmed me a little bit. Didn't really do much for me, but Naval Strike has really got me pumped to play some BF4 again. The hovercrafts are in there too, new vehicle obviously, really cool, and they handle well. If an attack boat is chasing you, no problem, just drive over an island and you've lost him, you're back in the water again, off to capture another flag, and that never gets old, that's always good. You can also jump really high with them off ramps or over cliffs. I foresee some epic wave race style machinima videos on the horizon. Well, what about the levolution on these maps? Is there any? There's a few little bits here and there, definitely. The most obvious one, of course, is the submarine on Wavebreaker. You just have to shoot the supports and bam, down it goes, crushes and instantly kills anyone underneath it. Also in the same submarine pen there are these floodgates, or sluice gates. Sluice puppy gate, I don't know, sluice gates, let's go with that. And there's 4 of them in total, and they basically allow you to block vehicles from entering the base. So if you get to that capture point first, you can just lock it down. You can shut the floodgates and no boats or helicopters are going to be able to get in there unless someone, you know, purposefully takes a squad of infantry and goes in through the side or swims under the gates and retakes it and then opens them up again. And that's a pretty cool tactic. Other stuff in there too, like on Operation Mortar, that starts at dawn, which looks lovely. You get this nice red sunrise, and then as the level progresses, the sun rises even more and it just changes the lighting. There's stuff like you can destroy the bridges, so the rubble fills the shallow water below, and that means the attack boats and rib boats can no longer get through there. You can shoot the side of rock faces to create rubble avalanches, blow up wooden bridges. There's slicks of oil on the ground that you can set on fire. You can blow the plane up, a little storm kicks up on Nature Strike. There's these secret waterfall caverns on Lost Islands that are really nice. There's all sorts of stuff, really, and I'm pretty sure there's a load of things there that we didn't discover at the event. We only got to play for about 3 hours. So basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of shit to do on these maps. That's a nice way of putting it. Most importantly, I didn't feel like any of these maps were stinkers. Let me elaborate. When I got to play China Rising for the first time, it was quite obvious to me that I wasn't going to play Altai Range very much. That's the snowy one with the satellite tower, whatever it is. It just didn't feel like a good map to me, but none of these new maps left me with a bad taste in my mouth, which is definitely a good thing. So what about Easter eggs? Again, I asked Craig about this, and he says there are actually quite a few in there. Obviously, we've got the Phantom Program Phase 2 to work out. We've got to figure out what that code is. I think this on the wall here in this tunnel has something to do with it, but I don't know how to translate that. So if anyone would be really kind and help me out and figure out what that says, I'd appreciate that. Leave that in the comments below. I was also told, I promise I'm not making this up, I was told this by 2 different guys. There are small sharks in the water around the plane on Lost Islands, and they don't attack you and you can't attack them, because if they had that sort of thing in the game they'd get in trouble with animal rights groups or something. Serious, that's the actual reason. But yeah, apparently there's sharks around the planes there, and also a big Easter egg if you swim out to sea. Maybe we'll find Jaws after all, I don't know, fingers crossed. Overall, had a lot of fun at the event. I think Naval Strike is going to be good, and you have to remember it's the last BF4 DLC that DICE Stockholm are working on. The next 2 of course are being completed by DICE LA. So obviously the team at Stockholm, they want to go out on a bang with this one on BF4 before they focus their attention on Mirror's Edge 2 and Battlefront. And I think that it shows in terms of quality, in terms of design, the variation in there on these maps. It's really good, and I certainly think that they're on to a winner here. But again, second big but of the video, but this one is super important. let's not kid ourselves, we're still playing Battlefield 4 here. The core experience remains the same, and although I still think that that's overwhelmingly fun and a lot of people do really enjoy the game, we still got to deal with the bugs, the bad hit registration, the bad netcode, and all the other frustrations that come with the game. However, I do think that DICE are working hard on addressing these problems and fixing them, and I think that they're showing that to us now as well. There's obviously a problem with the game. There's enough video evidence and proof out there now that shows the fundamental core mechanics of an FPS are only half there in BF4. It still feels like you're gambling with the game 50% of the time, like you're not completely in control. I have faith that it's going to be addressed and tuned up, although I am worried that for some players and fans of the series, it's just been far too long coming now. We have to wait and see. Finally, before I end the video today, I wanted to say that it was really fucking good playing Battlefield 4 on LAN again with no lag, no packet loss, no bullshit. People just drop like flies and it's brilliant. That shit feels good. And it's just a shame that most of you guys will never get to experience that. I'm going to sign off now. There will be raw footage of the event uploaded and also my interview with Craig McLeod. I'd appreciate it if you go and check those out too if you have the chance. Leave a rating and a comment. Let me know your thoughts on Naval Strike and I'll see you in the next one.